Joining us, tonight's top story. 1 year ago, a Via Rail train went off the tracks in Burlington. 3 people died instantly, dozens more were injured. And tonight, we're bringing you special coverage on the anniversary with the latest on the victims and the investigation. Let's go live now to the crash site where Melissa Raftis is standing by. Melissa, a very different scene there this evening compared to 1 year ago.
Yes, there is, Nick. Tonight right now, trains are running through here as they normally do, frequently stopping traffic as they cross King Road. But exactly 1 year ago, tomorrow evening, this was a very different scene. This entire area was glowing red and blue from the flashing lights on police cruisers and fire trucks. Neighbors were gathered outside watching and waiting for answers. And while we now know that Via 92 was speeding, many of those answers we still are waiting for, mainly why. It was here on February 26, 2012, Via 92 flew off the rails as it was switching tracks. The locomotive slammed into a nearby building, killing 3 engineers in the cab and wounding 45 of the 75 passengers in the train's 5 coaches. The Transportation Safety Board was called in to investigate, and on March 1st, after recovering the black box, determined Via 92 was speeding.
I can now confirm that the train entered the crossover from track 2 to track 3 at approximately 67 miles per hour in an area where it was supposed to go at a maximum authorized speed of 15 miles per hour.
At 67 miles per hour, which is 108 kilometers an hour, Via 92 was going 4 times the permitted speed to cross from one track to another. But without a voice recorder or video from the locomotive, TSB investigators were left questioning why.
An in-cab voice recording would record all activity in the cab of the locomotive.
At head office in Gatineau, TSB Regional Manager Rob Johnston tells us investigating without one has been a challenge.
We also didn't have any forward-facing camera or inward-facing camera on the locomotive, so that presented some additional challenges. We had to do a significant amount of testing on the signal system to ensure that it was operating correctly.
But a correctly operating signal system would have indicated to the engineers to slow down. A voice recorder would have helped determine who was driving, why the train sped up before the crash, and why no brakes were applied. After previous derailments, the TSB has recommended Transport Canada require voice recorders on trains. The recommendations have yet to be implemented, but Transport Canada says they remain under consideration. The Transportation Safety Board said it had field investigators right here at the site of the crash up until October. They say they won't be ready to release any of their findings until the summer at the earliest, but they are in the initial stages of drafting their report.
After we completed the field phase, draft report, multiple reviews, out for designated reviewers, and then back to us for another go-around through the report.
While the TSB's findings haven't been made public yet, Bogda Minda, whose business Eurofix backs onto the tracks, says he's noticed immediate changes in passing trains.
After the crash, for a couple months, they were going really slow. You could see the drastic difference in, like a change in the speed.
Minda says for about 2 months, trains would crawl by at 20 kilometers an hour as crews inspected the tracks.
A few months after that, I think it just went back to normal.
On Friday, our radar guns clocked another Via train crossing King Road at 108 kilometers per hour. While that's the same pace as Via 92 was going, it's well under the speed limit for a train not changing tracks. And 1 year later, as many trains continue to safely speed through that stretch of track, investigators still haven't explained why Via 92 did not. I spoke to one of the brothers of the engineers. He's seen a draft of the report, and he says he believes that investigators might never conclusively know what led to that tragedy. I'll have more from him coming up later on in the newscast, as well as more from 2 passengers who were on the train that say their lives were changed that day. Nick?
You can imagine they were, Melissa. Just before you go right now, though, has Via Rail said anything about this investigation now 1 year later?
Nick, we did reach Via Rail, but they declined to comment, saying that they're waiting for the Transportation Safety Board's final report. And as I mentioned earlier on, that report could be made public as early as this summer. Back to you.
All right, we'll talk to you in a little while. Thank you, Melissa.